Welcome to Lesson 8 of Week 11, focusing on approach criteria. This lesson examines how to address the feasibility factor that reviewers evaluate when assessing whether your methodology is rigorous enough and your plan realistic enough to accomplish your stated objectives. Approach, often called methodology or research strategy, typically carries more weight than any other evaluation criterion in federal grant review. While significance tells reviewers why the work matters and innovation tells them what is new, approach tells them whether the work will actually succeed. A significant, innovative idea fails without a strong approach to execute it. Reviewers assess multiple dimensions of approach, including whether your design is appropriate for your questions, whether your methods are rigorous and well justified, whether your timeline is realistic, whether you have anticipated and planned for potential problems, and whether you have the resources and expertise to execute the plan. Weakness in approach undermines the entire proposal. By the end of this lesson, you will understand what reviewers look for when evaluating approach. You will learn to present methodology with appropriate detail and justification. You will know how to demonstrate feasibility convincingly. You will develop skills for addressing potential problems proactively. Note that approach criteria vary across programs. Always review your specific NOFO for guidance. This lesson has 4 primary learning objectives. First, you will understand what reviewers assess when evaluating approach. Approach evaluation encompasses design, methods, timeline, resources, and risk management. Knowing what reviewers examine helps you address each element thoroughly. Second, you will learn to present methodology with appropriate detail and justification. Too little detail leaves reviewers uncertain about what you will actually do. Too much detail obscures key points. Finding the right level and justifying your choices strengthens your approach section. Third, you will learn to demonstrate feasibility through realistic planning and resource allocation. Reviewers want confidence that you can actually accomplish what you propose. Demonstrating feasibility requires showing you have thought through implementation realistically. Fourth, you will learn to anticipate potential problems and present contingency plans. Acknowledging what might go wrong and showing how you would respond demonstrates sophisticated planning and reduces reviewer concerns about risk. Understanding why approach matters most helps you prioritize your effort appropriately. Execution determines success because even great ideas fail without strong execution plans. A significant problem addressed with an innovative approach still requires rigorous methodology to generate valid results. Approach is where the work actually happens. Highest point value in many scoring rubrics goes to approach. While allocations vary by program, approach commonly carries 40 to 50% of total points. This weighting reflects funder recognition that execution capability is the primary determinant of whether investment produces results. Reviewer confidence builds when strong approach sections demonstrate that the proposal will succeed. Reviewers invest their credibility when they advocate for funding proposals. They want confidence that proposals they support will deliver on their promise. Strong approach creates that confidence. Risk assessment by reviewers considers whether funding might be wasted on work that cannot succeed. Weak approach raises this concern. Resources invested in poorly planned work produce poor results. Reviewers protect against this risk by scrutinizing approach carefully. Strong approach sections address multiple essential elements. Design appropriateness means your overall research or program design must be suited to your questions or objectives. The design should logically generate the information or outcomes you seek. Mismatch between design and objectives raises fundamental concerns about whether the work can succeed. Method rigor requires that your specific methods be sound and well justified. Each method you employ should be appropriate for its purpose, described clearly enough for evaluation, and justified with rationale or precedent. Reviewers assess whether your methods will produce valid, reliable results. Timeline realism demands a schedule that is achievable given your scope of work and available resources. Overly ambitious timelines suggest naive planning or inevitable delays. Realistic timelines demonstrate you understand what the work actually requires and have planned accordingly. Contingency planning shows you have anticipated what might go wrong and have alternatives ready. Research rarely proceeds exactly as planned. Demonstrating awareness of potential problems and preparation to address them shows sophisticated planning and reduces perceived risk. Design and justification establish the foundation of your approach. Design selection requires choosing designs appropriate for your objectives. If you want to test causal relationships, you need designs that support causal inference. If you want to describe phenomena, you need descriptive designs. The design must match what you are trying to accomplish. Justify choices by explaining why this design is right for this particular work. Do not assume reviewers will see the logic. State explicitly why you chose this design and how it serves your objectives. Justification demonstrates thoughtful planning rather than arbitrary selection. Address alternatives by acknowledging other possible designs and explaining why yours is preferable. Reviewers may wonder why you did not choose alternative approaches. Preemptively addressing this by noting alternatives and explaining your reasoning demonstrates comprehensive consideration. Align components so all design elements work together coherently. Your sampling strategy should fit your design. Your measurement approach should fit your questions. Your analysis plan should fit your data. Incoherent designs with misaligned components suggest inadequate planning. Method, detail, and clarity help reviewers assess your approach accurately. Sufficient detail means providing enough information for reviewers to evaluate whether your methods are rigorous and appropriate. If reviewers cannot understand what you will do, they cannot assess whether it will work. Include enough detail for evaluation. Not excessive detail means avoiding overwhelming reviewers with minutiae that obscures your key points. A method section that reads like a laboratory protocol may include more detail than necessary for proposal review. Include what reviewers need, not everything you could possibly say. Operational specificity describes what you will actually do step by step. Abstract descriptions of methods are less convincing than operational descriptions. Instead of, we will collect data, specify how, when, from whom, and using what instruments. Specificity demonstrates you have thought through implementation. Technical accuracy ensures your method descriptions are correct and precise. Reviewers with relevant expertise will notice technical errors. Incorrect terminology, inaccurate descriptions, or imprecise specifications undermine confidence in your expertise and planning. Timeline and milestones demonstrate that you have planned implementation realistically. Realistic scheduling allows adequate time for each activity based on actual requirements. Recruitment takes time, data collection takes time, analysis takes time. Schedules that compress activities into unrealistic timeframes suggest naive planning or inevitable delays. Logical sequencing orders activities appropriately based on dependencies. Activities that depend on prior completion must follow those prerequisite activities. Overlapping activities must actually be capable of proceeding simultaneously. Illogical sequences raise concerns about planning quality. Clear milestones identify specific accomplishments at defined points in your timeline. Milestones provide checkpoints for assessing progress. They should be concrete and verifiable, not vague. Specific milestones like complete enrollment of 100 participants by month 6 are clearer than make good progress on recruitment. Visual presentation through Gantt charts or timeline graphics can communicate schedule information more effectively than prose. A well-designed timeline figure shows activities, durations, sequences, and milestones at a glance. Visual timelines save space while improving clarity. Demonstrating feasibility convinces reviewers your proposal can succeed. Preliminary data provide evidence that your approach works. Pilot results, feasibility studies, or early-stage findings demonstrate that your methods produce meaningful results. Preliminary data reduce the risk that your approach might fail entirely. Track record documents prior success with similar methods or projects. If you have successfully conducted similar work before, that experience suggests you can do it again. Cite relevant prior work that demonstrates your capability to execute what you propose. Resource adequacy shows you have sufficient budget, personnel, equipment, and time. Reviewers assess whether your resources match your proposed work. Underfunded proposals cannot succeed. Understaffed proposals cannot complete required activities. Demonstrate that resources align with requirements. Institutional support indicates your environment and infrastructure support the proposed work. Access to necessary facilities, administrative support, and institutional commitment all contribute to feasibility. Letters of support and resource descriptions demonstrate institutional backing. Addressing potential problems demonstrates mature planning and reduces reviewer concerns. Acknowledge challenges by identifying what might go wrong in your proposed work. Recruitment might be slower than expected. Methods might not perform as anticipated. External factors might interfere. Identifying challenges shows you have thought beyond the ideal scenario. Risk assessment evaluates the likelihood and potential impact of identified challenges. Some problems are common but manageable. Others are rare but devastating. Understanding risk profiles helps you and reviewers assess overall feasibility. Contingency plans describe how you would respond if problems occur. If recruitment is slow, what will you do? If a method fails, what is your backup? Specific contingency plans demonstrate you are prepared for realistic implementation challenges. Demonstrate awareness through this discussion that shows sophisticated understanding of your work. Naive proposals assume everything will go perfectly. Sophisticated proposals acknowledge uncertainty and prepare for it. Reviewers have more confidence in investigators who understand the challenges they will face. Analysis and interpretation planning completes your approach by showing how you will make sense of your results. Analysis plan specifies how you will analyze collected data. What analyses will you conduct? In what order? Using what software or tools? The analysis plan should connect directly to your objectives, showing how analyses address your questions. Statistical methods should be identified specifically if your work involves quantitative analysis. What tests will you use? With what assumptions? At what significance levels? Specific statistical planning demonstrates methodological sophistication and enables reviewer evaluation of appropriateness. Interpretation framework explains how you will interpret your findings. What will different results mean? How will you draw conclusions? What theoretical or practical frameworks will guide interpretation? Clear frameworks show you have thought beyond data collection to meaning making. Validity considerations address threats to validity and how you will handle them. What could compromise the validity of your conclusions? What design choices or analytical strategies address these threats? Demonstrating validity awareness shows methodological sophistication. Recognizing common approach weaknesses helps you avoid them. Insufficient detail leaves methods too vague for reviewers to evaluate. Descriptions like "we will analyze the data" or "we will recruit participants" do not tell reviewers what you will actually do. Include enough detail for meaningful assessment of rigor and appropriateness. Overly ambitious proposals attempt more than can reasonably be accomplished with available resources and time. 3 aims that would each require full grant support crammed into one proposal raise feasibility concerns. Scope must match resources. Reviewers recognize when proposals promise more than they can deliver. Design flaws include approaches that fundamentally cannot answer the questions posed. A cross-sectional design cannot establish causation. A small sample cannot detect small effects. When designs cannot accomplish objectives, the entire proposal is undermined regardless of other strengths. No contingencies suggest the proposers have not thought about what might go wrong or assume everything will proceed perfectly. This naivete concerns reviewers who know from experience that problems arise. Acknowledging challenges and having backup plans demonstrates mature planning. Approach emphasis varies across different types of proposals. Research grants emphasize design rigor and scientific method. Can your design answer your research questions? Are your methods scientifically sound? Will your analyses produce valid results? Research approach must demonstrate scientific rigor. Service programs emphasize implementation feasibility and service delivery. Can you actually implement this program? Do you have the capacity to serve the proposed population? Is your delivery model realistic? Service approach must demonstrate operational feasibility. Training grants emphasize training methods and mentorship quality. How will trainees learn? What experiences will develop their skills? How will mentors guide their development? Training approach must demonstrate pedagogical soundness. Program-specific variation means approach criteria differ based on what the program is trying to accomplish. Read your NOFO carefully to understand what aspects of approach are most important for your specific program. Write to what your program emphasizes. Writing strong approach sections requires attention to structure, justification, and presentation. Organized structure uses clear organization that matches your objectives. If you have 3 aims, consider organizing approach by aim. Use headings and subheadings that help reviewers navigate. Clear organization makes your approach easier to follow and evaluate. Rationale throughout means justifying your choices, not just describing them. Do not just say what you will do, explain why you will do it that way. What makes this method appropriate? Why this sample size? Why this timeline? Rationale demonstrates thoughtful planning. Connected to objectives shows explicitly how your methods address your stated objectives. Each objective should have corresponding methodology. Reviewers should see clear links between what you aim to accomplish and how you will accomplish it. Professional presentation includes clear writing free of jargon, appropriate figures that communicate effectively, and logical flow from one section to the next. The approach section is often the longest in your proposal. It deserves careful attention to presentation quality. Anticipating reviewer questions helps you address approach comprehensively. Will this work is the fundamental question reviewers ask about approach. Can the proposed methods actually achieve the stated objectives? Is there a logical path from what you will do to what you aim to accomplish? Reviewers must believe your approach can succeed. Is this rigorous asks whether your methods are scientifically or programmatically sound? Are you using appropriate designs, valid and reliable measures, sufficient samples, proper controls? Rigor determines whether results will be meaningful and trustworthy. Is this realistic asks whether the work can be accomplished with proposed resources and time? Do you have enough money, enough people, enough time? Realistic proposals match scope to resources. Unrealistic proposals promise what they cannot deliver. What if problems arise asks whether you have prepared for challenges. Reviewers know problems occur. Have you anticipated likely problems? Do you have plans for responding? Preparation for problems demonstrates sophisticated planning. Let us summarize the key points from this lesson on approach criteria. Approach typically carries the most weight in evaluation because execution determines whether even significant, innovative ideas succeed. Reviewers need confidence that funding your proposal will produce results. Strong approach sections build that confidence. Essential elements of approach include design appropriateness, method rigor, timeline realism, feasibility demonstration, and contingency planning. Each element contributes to reviewer assessment of whether your work can succeed. Weakness in any element undermines the whole. Detail and justification are critical. Provide enough detail for reviewers to evaluate your methodology, but not so much that key points are obscured. Justify your choices throughout, explaining not just what you will do, but why you will do it that way. Rationale demonstrates thoughtful planning. In our next lesson, we will cover agency culture focusing on NIH versus NSF. You will learn how these two major federal research funders differ in their priorities, terminology, and expectations, and how to adapt your proposals accordingly. Practice exercise. Outline the approach section for a proposal in your area. Identify your design, major methods, and timeline. For each major element, write a sentence or two of justification, explaining why you made that choice. Identify 3 potential problems and describe your contingency plans.